So, Mr. President, how do you handle promises that you made when you were running for election, and how do you handle it? I mean, what do you say to people? Do you just I know people. What do you want me to tell Romney? I can't tell him to do that. Can't do that to himself. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy.
Clint Eastwood debating an empty chair. We've got 5 full chairs on our roundtable this morning. I'm joined, as always, by George Will, Donna Brazile, Matthew Dowd, Dr. Kerry Healey, Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts under Mitt Romney, now senior advisor to his campaign, and a former Obama advisor, Bill Burton, now the head of the Priorities USA Action. That's a super PAC supporting President Obama. Let's talk about the Republican convention this first round. George, we saw 3 nights, 1 night short because of Isaac. In those 3 nights, did they do what they needed to do?
Not clear. It's a question, George, of who's watching and why at this point. Are the kind of people who tune in conventions the kind of people who are unusually interested in politics? If so...
And viewership was down about 30% from 4 years ago.
And this matters because the voting starts in this country in Iowa in 25 days, and 5 days after that in Ohio. A third of the American people live in the 35 states, 32 states, I guess, that permit early voting. So we're really on the edge of something here. And the question is, did Mitt Romney tell us something we didn't already know? We know he's against, as he says, throwing borrowed money at bad ideas. We know he's against what they call trickle-down government. But did he tell us something we didn't already know? I doubt it.
Did he, Donna?
No, I don't believe he closed the deal. And I also believe it was a missed opportunity. Look, George, when you attend a Republican convention as a Democrat, you suspect that they're going to hammer your side. What we saw for 3 nights is the Republican Party basically trying to figure out their path forward. We had the Rising Stars of 2016, and we had a conversation with Ann Romney that said, look, I'm going to tell you why he made me laugh, why we should trust him. But they didn't close the deal. So I think we left there after that bizarre performance by Clint Eastwood, who I really liked. We left there still wondering, who is Mitt Romney?
Although I would go to Dr. Healey now, we did see Ann Romney's speech where she let us in on a lot of his personal biography, and Governor Romney did that himself on Thursday night.
Well, not only that, but you also saw people from throughout his life on Thursday night, people who I had never met before, coming forward to tell their own stories about the incredible charitable acts that Governor Romney had done throughout his lifetime in secret. I mean, often people wonder, why don't we hear more about Mitt Romney's charitable acts? Well, obviously he feels that these things are private. But on that night, people came forward and said, let me tell you about the kindness that he had with our sick child, or how he helped our family when we were in need. And then people came forward and said this is what it was like working with him at Bain Capital and how he helped create jobs, and about a side to him that I think most people hadn't seen before.
Some of those in prime time instead have Clint Eastwood?
Well, I think that was really a decision that the networks made, not to cover more of that. And I hope that people go online and look at those speeches, because that was really, to me, some of the most powerful moments of the convention.
Well, for me, the convention, they're not used to close the deal, but they are used to make building blocks in a tight race in order to convert people by the time you get to the end. I think what the convention did, because it didn't fully do, I think, what they wanted to do, which was convert people from anti-Obama to pro-Romney, which is what you have to have. It raises the stakes for October 3rd, which is the first vice presidential debate. The other thing, if I were the Romney campaign, I would be worried about is that normally, if you take a look at history, conventions and messages that are primarily about biography don't usually win. If you think about Bob Dole's convention was primarily about his biography, he lost. Bob Kerry's convention was primarily about biography, and he lost. And John McCain's convention. And so what I think they missed was an opportunity to take the man and connect it to a vision, and that's the part I think they missed.
I want to talk about that in a second, but on the other hand, Bill Burton, make that strong case that for a lot of Americans, they're not feeling any better off than they were 4 years ago. And you saw David Plouffe still couldn't give a yes, we are better off than we were 4 years ago.
Well, the flaw in that question is that if you look at when the president took over, we were still losing 800,000 jobs a month. So the situation didn't get to the very worst point until into the president's term. But since the recovery has started, yes, more than 4 million jobs have been created. But what Mitt Romney missed, I think the lieutenant governor is right, that one of the most powerful parts of their convention was some of the personal stories that came from some of the people who weren't in prime time. But what he missed was was the opportunity to talk about not just how much he loves his family, but what he's going to do for the American people and their families. There was no specificity. There was no defense of his economic strategy. And I think that was the biggest missed opportunity.
Let me go to Governor Healey on that, because that was a point. Bill Burton, obviously an Obama partisan, but the Wall Street Journal editorial page basically made the same point. Yesterday, they said that he didn't lay out his economic policy agenda with enough specificity, enough detail.
Yeah, I would strongly disagree, and I would also disagree with the idea that he didn't get the message across that the whole point of his administration would be the American people and their jobs and their families. He made that very clear. That's how he closed his speech. So, and he also has been talking about for the last month, and also at the convention, his policies to expand the welfare of the middle classes, to talk about job creation there, to create 12 million new jobs, to bring down unemployment. Unemployment now has been over 8% for 43 months. So, of course, you can't say that you're better off than you were 4 years ago. I think he made a very specific appeal to people to, repeal Obamacare, which there is a lot of support for, empower small businesses, lower taxes on everyone, not just upper income folks, but everyone and small businesses, and to get us to a point of energy independence. So he did lay out the specifics.
One of the other points that I thought was especially effective, George Will, is that pitch to the disappointed Obama voters, that imagery of the fading Obama posters on the college students' wall.
Americans want their presidents to succeed, partly because they put them there, and they don't want to say they made a mistake. So I thought that tone, more in sorrow than in anger. It's all right to change presidents. I mean, after all, if we have a third two-term president in a row, it'll be only the second time in American history we've had that. Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. So turmoil and change is perfectly normal in the chief executive office, and I think that's something that Mr. Romney was trying to say. Don't be afraid. We can do this.
Was that the best part of the convention?
No, the best part of the convention really was getting to know the Ron Paul people who really left with a bad taste in their mouth. But the truth be told is that 2/3 of Mitt Romney's speech, I listened to his speech. I love the video because, we got a glimpse into his life, his family life. I enjoyed meeting his sons. But 2/3 of his speech was all about emotion. It was all about him, the man, him, the person. He didn't lay out his policies or his policy prescriptions until the last 15 minutes, and he did it in such a moving, quick way. I got a 5-point plan. I kept thinking, you had 59 points. You reduced it to 5, but there was still no meat. No meat.
To me, that whole sort of "we're disappointed you voted for it" was actually the fundamental, most powerful part of the message, I believe, in Paul Ryan's speech and in Mitt Romney's speech, because who they have to win this election is people that voted for Barack Obama, were enthusiastic for Barack Obama, but don't like the current direction of the country. It's sort of the gold watch strategy for the CEO. Give him a gold watch, let him go on his way. We need a new CEO in this country. If they have that tone and not out of anger, not try to get people to hate Barack Obama, but say you can like Barack Obama, but he just shouldn't serve. I want to make a point which I think people misinterpret about the question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We did a whole bunch of, when I was working for President Bush in 2004, a whole bunch of research on this question. And the question really is twofold. Is the country better off? Not are you, but is the country? Because people will vote for somebody, even if they're worse off, if they think the country is better off. And secondly, almost as powerful, will the country be better off 4 years from now? And I think what you're going to see is Mitt Romney is going to make an argument that says the country is not better off. It's worse off than it was. And I think Barack Obama needs to make the argument the country will be better off if I get 4 more years.
And that is clearly the argument, Bill Burton, that David Plouffe was making today.
Well, clearly. I think that, and this is also what was missing from Romney's speech was, a very forward-looking vision for where he's going to take the country, what he's going to actually do. If you look at what President Obama did in 2008 in his speech where he introduced himself to the American people, people talk about the rhetoric and what a great speech it was and how it was delivered, but actually he talked very specifically about things like health care, fuel efficiency standards, equal pay, Iraq, Afghanistan, and then he accomplished all those things. Mitt Romney didn't really lead you down the path of the things that he's actually going to accomplish.
I think there might be some disagreement on accomplishing all those things.